Good morning from beautiful Brisbane, Australia. How are you this morning? Welcome to Complex PTSD TV Live. And my name's Linda. I'm your certified trauma recovery coach. Welcome this morning because we're going to touch on a really sensitive topic that doesn't get spoken about often enough. And also in our families, it's never been spoken about for multiple generations. If you're here for the first time, welcome. Please hit like and subscribe, and remember to share the content because we have a silent majority floating around the world who are desperate for information and don't know where to look as yet. So we need to get this out. I feel, and the people in my group, we practice that the more we can get out there and help other people heal, we know we heal as well. But also when we get the information out there, people begin to get set free from many generations of complex PTSD that's been handed down unknowingly. Okay. Now, not only that, I came into an awareness of how much the abandonment wound gets handed down unconsciously overnight, and I can't go into it just yet, but I'm going to do more research for you so that I can easily quantify how, not just how it's getting handed down with the cortisol crossing the placenta, but the abandonment wound is getting handed down in other ways as well. So I will bring all that information to you as I unpack it and put it together in a way that's easy for us to understand, and it's not going to take decades of having to study. All right. I feel really strongly about this because it's my motivation of not only do I not want my children to continue to suffer with mental health challenges, I don't want my grandchildren to suffer with mental health challenges. And even if you don't have children, it's I don't want the children around me to suffer. I don't want their grandchildren to suffer. We all need to stand up and take responsibility for what's happening. And, you know, when I was at gym this morning too, I just about cried. I'm feeling really emotional this morning, and I just about shed tears because it came up. It was they either run the program that's Dr. Oz or the is it called The Doctors with Dr. Phil's son, and he runs a team of doctors. One of those programs came up and it said 80% of children are now suffering with anxiety. I'm pretty sure the statistic was America, but you can guarantee that around the world it won't be differing too much. So if 80% of our children are suffering with anxiety, we need to be the generation that stands up and says the buck stops with me. I know I'm not into our video just yet, but I feel very strongly about this, that the buck stops with me and responsibility starts with me to make changes and these changes, they go against everything that our family wants us to be. They go against everything our family raised us to be. And we could go on with that, but most of us know that. But the good news is, with the work that I do with the Conscious Warrior Academy, you can be the change and take up the challenge of changing and not handing down the mental health. It's not just handing it down unconsciously. We didn't know it was prevalent. So I was talking to one of my children yesterday and I went, my goodness, you know, when I was growing up, even when they were growing up, mental health just wasn't a discussion anyone was having. And then the other side of it is we thought we were normal. All right. So we might have had struggles. Well, we did have struggles, let's face it. We did have struggles. But those struggles we thought were a normal part of us, but we didn't know how to go about changing them, because if we did, then it would appear that we were abnormal according to our family's rules and, you know, the rules that they have that we don't even speak about. And, oh, look, it's a multi-complex situation that we have going on. So we need to be willing to be the change and step up and take responsibility for being the change that our kids need. Okay, so this subject came up too because of where I'm at in my recovery journey. I went looking for information about mental abuse. Now, at the moment, everything that I researched, mental abuse is tied in with emotional abuse, and I get that. So I want to, and look, this is how new all of this information is. When I eventually found a site that I could trust and was explaining emotional and mental abuse, they even said that across the board, so this is not just America, like around the world, everyone is still struggling professionally to quantify emotional and mental abuse. What they do know so far is that it impacts our cognitive function. So our cognitive functions are all of the abilities that our brain makes it possible for us to perform. So think about if you walk around and you're always running into things. Think about if you look down and you go, oh, where'd that bruise come from? Okay, these are cognitive functions that impact our spatial ability, so we don't know that we're just about to kick our toe into the bed and avoid it. And this happened so much for me. I think about when I was raising kids and I was always in a hurry. Man, I used to bash the end of that waterbed, had wooden posts. And it's spatial ability. And they are our important cognitive functions, okay? So we want to look at the emotional and mental abuse can impact behaviours, okay? It can impact our health. And for those of us around this decade and the younger ones are knowing now that this complex trauma handed down is impacting health, especially those who have autoimmune diseases. They are really aware of how much it impacts their health. For me, it severely impacted my cognitive ability. So I found a site called Prevent Child Abuse America, and here is what we're going to do to define childhood emotional abuse. So I want you to be gentle with you. I want you to be very, very kind with you and with your heart. And if you need a box of Kleenex like I normally do, go for it. But I also want you to be aware that you need to reach out to somebody, because some of this information will be an aha moment, like, oh, finally life makes sense. And some of it will hit us in the heart where it's like, wow, I really missed out. Okay? All right, so number 1, rejecting. The caregiver refuses to acknowledge the child's worth and the legitimacy of the child's needs. So we're going to look at, if I needed something as a child, how was I treated? All right? And you want to look at that because it impacts not just us on a heart level, but it will impact us on a brain level. And brain scans are proving it now too. Isolating. So the adult cuts the child off from normal social experiences, prevents the child from forming friendships, and makes the child believe that he or she is alone in the world. And if you've come from a family where there wasn't a lot of social get-togethers, okay, this is definitely something where isolating can feel normal for us because it's less painful. So I want you to be very, very aware that it is important that at certain stages of our recovery we do reach out and we do begin to form friendships. And it is I want to encourage you, it is something we can learn how to do, all right? And basically with complex PTSD, we need to learn how to do everything. It's just, well, that's what I've found, okay? There are so many things that I've had to learn how to do and still continue to learn how to do because they weren't an automatic part of my upbringing. Terrorizing. The adult creates a climate of fear, bullies and frightens the child, and makes the child believe that the world is capricious and hostile, okay? So if you as an adult look around you and you've got cynicism, you've got bitterness, you've got fear around engaging with other people, you don't feel confident, I want you to think about, don't go back to the past, I just want you to think about the impact on your life and how you can begin to take your one next step. Ignoring, the adult deprives the child of essential stimulation and responsiveness. Now I'm going to give you a real life example of this because this was my life. When I was a teenager, part of my responsibilities were to clean the bathroom every week. And every week, without a doubt, without my mother saying a word, I knew I hadn't done it good enough. So one weekend I went, right, I'm going to spend an inordinate amount of time cleaning this damn bathroom, clean the shower. The shower was the problem. And then I'm going to get her to come in here. Like, I was always taking responsible. Let's have these conversations. But anyhow, she came in and she never said a word, and it was just oozed out of her that I hadn't done it right. And I said to her, I need you to tell me where I haven't done it right for her in order that I can improve on this, in order that I get it right. You know, it's not that I want to do a job half done. I want to do it well. She never said a word. She literally could not tell me where I hadn't done the bathroom or the shower correctly. And you know what? This is deprivation when adults won't have conversations with us. I just cried. I redid the shower. It still wasn't good enough. She still couldn't tell me how it wasn't good enough. But I was left just in tears going, I don't understand. And this kind of emotional neglect impacts us for life. Well, until we get to actually treating it. We've had so many generations where adults won't have these emotional conversations and they turn it around and say, oh, you're just a drama queen. So because I was emotional and I'd want to have these conversations as a teenager, I was seen as Elizabeth Taylor, who is an actress, and that's just what they'd call me. And I'd write letters to my family saying, look, I'm trying to have these conversations, but of course they weren't equipped to have the conversations either. But this impacts us until we turn around and start saying, I want to have these conversations. I have these conversations with my adult kids because life isn't a one-size-fits-all and it's not a one and done. So as we continue to grow, we continue to heal, we will continue to have the conversations we need to have. All right? Okay, number 5, corrupting. The adult encourages the child to engage in destructive and antisocial behaviour, reinforces deviance and impairs a child's ability to behave in socially appropriate ways. Okay? I can't tell you how much of that impacts my life, and it's a bit hard to talk about today. But that happens. But I want you to know that's something that we can heal. And as we begin to learn how to interact socially and engage socially, a lot of healing comes from that side of it. Okay? Verbally assaulting. The adult humiliates the child with repeated name-calling, harsh threats and sarcasm that continually beat down the child's self-esteem. And I know that we've all come from generations of this, and I know that they considered it the norm. But it's not. I want you to know it's not the norm to be treated this way. It's not the norm. We should never have been treated that way, and neither should they, and for multiple generations. But we're the ones that are standing up and saying we want to turn it around and we want to have really good, healthy conversations. Do we get it right all the time? No. But that's the beautiful mess of life. We will get up, we'll address the mess, and then we learn how to laugh as well. Okay? Number 7, overpressuring. The adult imposes extreme pressure upon the child to behave and achieve in ways that are far beyond the child's capabilities. I've seen this happen. My next door neighbour growing up had this happen. It was just amazing, just incredible. Not amazing as in wow, but just amazing that parents would actually do this. And it's very, very pressure ridden for the child, okay? Just accept and build. Accept one step and build. We build our children up into who they are. We don't keep tearing them down and telling them they haven't got it right and they haven't done it good enough. And it's not that we don't address what's wrong. We do. We do have the ability to sit down and say, well, what about this? What about that? Where can you see this? Teach our children to think, where can you see this leading? Okay, and it's all age appropriate. Oh my goodness, sorry. Laurel says, yes, at the heart is total chaos and lack of true communication, so painful and detrimental on so many levels. Absolutely. And also, one of the most powerful things that have helped me is that a lot of this is non-verbal for me. So when I look back over my life, a lot of what was said was non-verbal. So there, my mother's standing there and I'm asking direct questions about, okay, if I haven't cleaned the shower to your standard, then I need you to tell me what I can do or how I can do it to change that. And my mother not answering, like literally saying nothing. It's incredibly defeating that, because it's like we're not having a verbal conversation even. Okay? There's not even a anger match about, well, you're doing this or you're doing that. There's no communication. And look, some families do communicate at high levels of rah, 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 but they're communicating, okay? We didn't communicate much in our family. We did a lot of non-verbal things from both sides of my family. So I want you to be aware and be very gentle and kind with yourself that there was a lot of non-verbal not just instructions, but, just think of it this way. If you walk into a room and someone's angry, you pick up on it straight away. When we're in our families and we walk into a room, we know what's expected of us without the adult even uttering a word. Okay, so that's non-verbal communication, and we know what's expected of us without them saying a word. And sometimes it's a look, but sometimes it's just not. Because that's how we grew up. And they're the parts that we can identify within ourselves and say, well, that's not who I am. I want to be the adult that has the conversations with my kids at, age appropriate. I want to be the adult who takes responsibility, increasing responsibility for all facets of my life. Okay? Because often if they're beating us down as children, we don't understand, we haven't learnt how to step up and take responsibility for the different areas of our life, because it's all a learning process. So even think about the subject of money. I've had to go and learn about money. My mum taught me how to budget, but she didn't teach me how to make money work for me. All right, so there's always some aspect that we need to go and review and learn for ourselves as well. Okay, I am going to post this meme down below, and I am going to put it in a place where everybody has access to it, because I want you to take it to your trauma coach, I want you to take it to your therapist, whoever that you're seeing at the moment, and pick just one. And you want to look at where it's impacting your life, you want to develop strategies to overcome it, and you want to have a success. You don't want to go, all right, I want to go from A to Z overnight. It doesn't work with complex trauma. You trigger the brain. So we want to build just one next step. Okay? Laurel says, I used to get beaten for speaking my truth and confronting bad behaviours, but it never stopped me from speaking up. They will not squash my soul. Exactly. And that's what I've done too. I'm not going to stop speaking out, because this is so, so vital for the changes that need to come for our children, the changes that need to happen for us to live a full life, the changes that we need to have to impact multiple generations around us, whatever area of work that we're in. We can have an impact simply by saying, Things don't have to be the same way. All right, they don't have to continue the same way. They don't have to continue with drama. They don't have to continue with chaos. We can learn how to navigate our way through this in a healthier, less toxic, more functional way, so that we can change and be the platform and the foundation of change for the multiple generations that are coming after us, okay? Because they're coming. If 80% of children now have anxiety at a young age, then we need to be getting I've just got a picture of a horse and getting on our horse and making stuff happen in our own part of the world, wherever we are, and whatever impact we have, we need to be taking that one next step. Thanks, everybody. Remember, you are loved, and that life can definitely be healed from complex PTSD, and we can definitely begin to be the change that affects the world. Okay, I'll see you in the morning. Bye for now.